In the vast silence of the Atlantic Ocean, where the horizon swallows every sound and the wind speaks in long sighs, lies the wreck of a ship once thought unsinkable, the SS El Faro. She was no ancient steamer or forgotten relic of the past. She was a modern American cargo ship equipped with radar, satellite communications, and powerful engines. Yet, in October 2015, she vanished beneath the raging seas of Hurricane Joaquin, taking with her 33 souls. Her story is not from a bygone century, but from our own time. A reminder that the sea's power remains eternal, and that technology, no matter how advanced, still bows before nature. The El Faro tragedy stands as one of the most haunting maritime disasters in recent American history. It was not merely a shipwreck. It was a moment when confidence met humility, when human judgment faltered against the chaos of the elements. But to understand that final voyage, one must begin at her birth, in an era of steel, commerce, and the growing web of trade that bound the world together. The 1970s were a decade of transition for global shipping. The great age of ocean liners was ending, and in their place rose a new kind of vessel. Practical, powerful, and built not for passengers, but for goods. America's merchant marine, once vast and proud, had declined after World War II. Competition from foreign fleets, cheaper labor, and newer shipbuilding methods overseas challenged the dominance of U.S. cargo lines. Yet the country still needed vessels to serve its island territories. Puerto Rico, Guam, and Alaska, delivering food, fuel, mail, and machinery. In 1975, the Sun Shipbuilding and Dry Dock Company in Chester, Pennsylvania, launched two identical roll-on, roll-off cargo ships for the Puerto Rico Steamship Company, El Faro, the lighthouse, and her sister ship El Yunque. They were part of a new generation of American freighters. Strong, spacious, and capable of carrying both vehicles and containers. For decades, El Faro served quietly on her route, a steel bridge between Florida and the Caribbean. She was not famous, not glamorous, but reliable, the sort of ship that forms the invisible backbone of modern life. By the time the new century arrived, she had been refitted several times, modernized and reassigned. When her final owners, Tote Maritime, took command, she was 40 years old, still seaworthy, still trusted, and still beloved by her crew. The El Faro belonged to the Ponce class, a group of American-built cargo vessels designed for heavy mixed freight, cars, trucks, containers, and machinery. Technical specifications: type, roll-on, roll-off, ro-ro cargo ship. Length, 790 feet, 240 memots. Beam, 105 feet, 32. Gross tonnage, $16,000 GT propulsion. Steam turbine, 2 shafts, 35,000 horsepower. Speed, 20 knots, maximum. Crew, 33 officers and sailors. Home port, Jacksonville, Florida. Unlike the sleek diesel container ships of today, El Faro was built during a archaic, transitional era. She was one of the last American freighters powered by steam turbines rather than modern diesel engines. Her propulsion system, though efficient in its time, would later become a point of debate, aging, maintenance-heavy, and dependent on parts that were increasingly hard to find. Inside, the ship was a labyrinth of decks and cargo holds. Her massive ramp allowed trucks and trailers to drive directly aboard, while upper decks carried containers stacked neatly like bricks. Above the steel maze stood the bridge, spacious, bright, lined with radar screens, radios, and weather monitors. She could carry everything from fruit to heavy machinery, and she sailed through decades of storms with the quiet grace of a vessel built by hands that still understood the sea. For 40 years, El Faro and her sisters ran steady routes between Jacksonville, Florida, and San Juan, Puerto Rico. Week after week, year after year, they carried cargo essential to the island's economy: food, vehicles, construction materials, and mail. Her crews were drawn from the merchant mariners of the United States, men and women who lived months at sea, bound by routine and camaraderie. The ship was a workplace, a home, and sometimes a challenge. Steamships required skill and discipline. Every valve, every boiler demanded constant attention. Among her crew was Captain Michael Davidson, a veteran mariner with decades of experience. Calm, methodical, and respected, he had once served as chief mate on the same ship under a different name, Northern Lights. To his crew, he was a man of precision, but also of pride. The crew included engineers, cooks, deckhands, and cadets, ordinary people united by their trust in the vessel and in one another. In September 2015, they prepared for another routine voyage. None could imagine that it would be their last. On September 29, 2015, El Faro departed Jacksonville with a full load of cargo, containers, trailers, and vehicles bound for San Juan. The forecast mentioned a tropical storm forming near the Bahamas, but it was not yet classified as dangerous. Its name was Joaquin. As the ship steamed eastward, the storm strengthened rapidly. Within 48 hours, Joaquin became a Category 4 hurricane, with winds exceeding 130 miles per hour. Its path was unpredictable, shifting north, then south, then looping back over the Bahamas. The El Faro's intended route passed near the storm's edge. Captain Davidson, confident in the ship's strength and his experience, chose to maintain course, skirting the hurricane's expected perimeter. It was a decision made countless times in maritime history, and one that would soon prove fatal. On the night of September 30th, Joaquin's fury grew. The seas rose, the wind howled, and rain lashed the decks. The crew secured cargo, checked hatches, and kept watch. The ship began to roll violently. At 5:43 a.m. on October 1st, Davidson radioed the company's operations center. "We've got a marine emergency. We've lost propulsion." The loss of power was catastrophic. Without engine thrust, the ship could no longer face the waves. She drifted helplessly into the storm's core, battered by waves over 50 feet high and winds approaching 150 knots. The last message from El Faro came minutes later. "We are taking on water. Listing 15 degrees. Crew is preparing to abandon ship." Then, silence. When El Faro failed to arrive in San Juan, the U.S. Coast Guard launched one of the largest search operations in modern maritime history. Aircraft and ships combed 170,000 square miles of ocean. For days, only small pieces of debris were found: life rings, containers, and a single body in a survival suit. On October 31st, 2015, a deep-sea vessel equipped with sonar discovered the wreck at a depth of 15,000 feet, 570 meters, near Crooked Island, Bahamas. The ship was upright, remarkably intact, her stern buried in sand, her bridge torn away. Inside, investigators found a crucial piece of evidence: the voyage data recorder, VDR, or black box. Recovered months later, it contained 26 hours of bridge audio, capturing the final conversations of the crew. Those recordings revealed a chain of errors and pressures: the captain's reluctance to alter course, outdated weather information, mechanical limitations, and the fear of arriving late. The crew discussed the storm's growing strength, the increasing list, and their worry over the ship's condition. Moments before the end, Davidson's final words were calm but resigned. "Tell them we're going down." The sinking of El Faro shocked the maritime world. It was the worst U.S. cargo ship disaster in more than 30 years, and a tragedy in an age when such losses were thought impossible. The official investigation concluded that the primary cause was the captain's decision to sail too close to the hurricane, combined with outdated weather data and the ship's loss of propulsion. Yet it also revealed systemic issues: corporate pressure, aging ships, and the over-reliance on technology without human caution. In the years that followed, new safety regulations were enacted, improved weather reporting, stricter maintenance standards, and better training for mariners. The wreck of El Faro remains a memorial, a symbol of courage, misjudgment, and the unforgiving power of the sea. Each October, families gather at the El Faro Memorial in Jacksonville, where the names of all 33 crew members are engraved in bronze. They were engineers, cooks, officers, and sailors, ordinary people who trusted the ship and the sea. And beneath 4.5 kilometers of ocean, El Faro still rests, her cargo holds silent, her lights long extinguished, her name the Lighthouse, shining now only in memory. The story of El Faro is not just a story of a ship. It is the story of humanity's eternal struggle with nature, of our faith in steel and skill, and of the moments when the ocean reminds us who is truly in command. She was strong, she was proud, and she was lost. And somewhere beneath the endless Atlantic, the lighthouse sleeps, still guiding us, not with her light, but with her lesson.